The community gathered at the Croation Culture Center in San Pedro to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Philippine Expressions Bookshop and to share the Filipino culture with the community. Various Filipino authors also came out to discuss about their writing careers. Founder of Philippine Expressions Bookshop, Linda Nietes Little, talks about how the bookshop started.
This event is supposed to celebrate the 30th anniversary of our bookshop. You know, our bookshop is dedicated to Filipinos in search of their roots, Filipino Americans for that matter, and Filipinos in the diaspora. We want to give to the community something more meaningful. And to us, what could be more meaningful than giving them our culture to discover or rediscover, as the case may be.
Little goes on to discuss the future of books. And what do you think is the future of the bookshop?
Well, you know, it's a long struggle. It's a very difficult thing to really say that it's going to be a very lucrative business. Because first of all, technology has come in and there is so much competition with books that are not in print, but just with a wave of your finger, you're able to turn a page. But there will always be people who would be interested in the smell of a book, in touching pages as you go through. I think the idea of books will survive.
Filipino author Cecilia Mangera Brainerd discusses her books.
I started writing very early, young, in diaries and journals. And the first book I wrote was a collection of short stories that's set in mythical Ubek, which is Cebu backwards. I'm Cebuana.
And what type of ideas do you mainly focus on when you're writing?
I write fiction primarily, and so it has to do with characters and the struggles that they're going through. Most of my characters are set in the Philippines or have the Filipino-American experience. So it just sort of depends. Not all of them are Filipino or Filipino-American. Sometimes I have a story about a Vietnam vet. It depends on what character interests me.
Brainerd goes on to discuss Filipinos publishing their books in America.
More Filipino Americans than ever, and the writing and the publishing has become easier for them. Actually, they will always have their own stories to write about and to tell, and so they will continue and they will grow. What we need is our own publishing house, our own Filipino American literary press, but maybe one day that will happen.
Talking about the struggles earlier about publishing books, and can you talk a little bit about it?
It's really economic primarily. The problem in terms of Filipinos in America, Filipino Americans getting published, has to do with the money factor. Publishers publish books to make money. And if people don't buy the books written by Filipinos or Filipino Americans, there's a problem there. They're not going to want to publish them no matter how good the work is. The other side to this is that Filipinos and Filipino Americans need to buy and support our own writers. They need to buy books. I know that in the Japanese American community, they buy books written by Japanese Americans, and so they are able to have their own writers have an easier time.
Elicio Arch Silva discusses what he discovered while researching for his book.
In America, and also the history of Filipinos in the Philippines, focusing on the War of Independence, the Philippine-American War.
And what did you learn from writing these stories?
Well, what I learned is that there's so much that needs to be done. There's so much that needs to be written, and also being American, we have to stake a claim to that. We have to demonstrate to the United States that our images, our narratives are also American. You know, we have to be able to show them that we can also instill imagination to shape America's world through our own images. Because if you think about Japanese Americans, what image comes to your mind is the internment camps, right? Where the Chinese is the railroads probably, or the Chinatowns. With Filipinos, what's the collective image that comes to your mind in America? Nothing much. It should be the Delano grape strike, right? So that's, or the Philippine-American War for me. I mean, it's American, but it's happening in the Philippines. But that has to be in the consciousness of America that we were Asia's first equivalent to George Washington in the United States, you know.
The celebration was a mixture of learning about the Filipino culture and the Filipino authors in America. The 30th anniversary celebration will conclude next Saturday for the final Saturday night of celebrations for Philippine Expressions Bookshop. From Croation Culture Center in San Pedro, for FilAmTV Community News, this is Paul Chua reporting.